The galaxy had lived in fear for so long that most species no longer remembered a time without it. They had grown up hearing stories about the Charon Dominion, an empire that spread across hundreds of systems. Wherever the Dominion arrived, silence followed. Silence in the markets, silence in the homes, silence in the hopes of entire civilizations. No one spoke against them. No one asked questions. No one dared. For generations, the galaxy had accepted this silence as normal. Species that once dreamed of freedom had learned to bow their heads and speak softly. Even the stars felt quieter when Dominion ships passed, their dark silver hulls reflecting nothing but cold authority. On the edge of that quiet galaxy, there was a listening post manned by two small alien species. They monitored signals that drifted from unknown regions. Most were simple, static. Some were mechanical noise from drifting scrap. But one day, something different appeared on their screens. The signal was rhythmic, full of patterns and sound. It did not match any species in Dominion records. The technicians leaned closer. The signal had voices, but not like any they knew. The words were not threatening. In fact, the voices sounded casual, even cheerful. The technicians shared an uneasy look. Any species that spoke with such openness in the galaxy of the Dominion must not know fear, and not knowing fear was dangerous. They sent the recordings to Dominion Command. There, high-ranking analysts listened carefully. Their first conclusion was simple. This new species must be young. They must be far from the galactic center. They must not understand the political weight of their own carefree messages, and so the Dominion decided to investigate. They sent a scout vessel toward the new signal's origin, expecting to find a small, frightened species with outdated technology. Instead, they found a single human exploration ship, traveling calmly through open space. The ship was modest, not heavily armed. Its structure looked almost fragile compared to Dominion warships, but it moved with confidence, as if nothing in the universe could disturb its crew. Inside that ship, Captain Evan Brooks stood at the main console. He was tall, with gentle eyes that still held a spark of curiosity. He had joined the exploration program not to conquer but to discover. His crew shared this same energy. Lori Adams worked beside him, focused on navigation but smiling every time she saw a new starfield. Nathan Price handled communications, humming quietly as he adjusted frequencies. Daniel Hart managed engineering, always ready to fix anything. Megan Lewis studied alien biology, eager to meet another species, and Kyle Turner handled external operations, excited by every unknown object they encountered. None of them knew that the Dominion was approaching. They were simply enjoying their mission, sending relaxed messages back to Earth, joking about the strange shapes of nearby asteroids, and marveling at a nebula that glowed blue and gold. When the Dominion scout ship arrived, the crew expected a challenge. They were trained to intimidate. They activated their translation systems and sent an authoritative message demanding identification. They imagined the humans would panic. They expected cries of distress or total silence. Instead, the reply was cheerful. Nathan Price leaned toward the microphone and said, "Hello there. This is Captain Evan Brooks and the crew of the Horizon. We come in peace. Who are you?" The Dominion officers stared at the display. The humans sounded calm, almost friendly. This was unusual. Unknown species were normally terrified when meeting the Dominion for the first time. Their commander repeated the message, adding threat in his tone. The reply was the same. Calm, steady, curious. The humans did not even try to hide their interest. The Dominion officers grew uneasy. The humans did not behave like prey. They acted like explorers. The commander ordered a biological scan. When the results appeared, silence filled the control room. The humans came from a death world. Their bones were denser than expected. Their muscles were stronger. Their immune systems were tougher. Their bodies could survive temperatures and pressures that most Dominion species considered impossible. Their homeworld had storms that could tear apart the shelters of less resilient species. Their wildlife was aggressive, and their terrain dangerous. And yet they had not merely survived. They had thrived. The analysts sent the data to Dominion Command with a simple note attached. Approach with caution. Meanwhile, the humans still did not understand that they were being measured as a threat. Lori Adams leaned against her console and whispered to Evan, "They sound very serious. Maybe they just run formal ships." Evan chuckled softly. "Not everyone communicates the same way. Maybe this is normal for them." Nodder commented. The Dominion commander finally allowed visual contact. Their display showed a tall alien with silver skin and sharp eyes. The humans stared with awe. They whispered excitedly. They were too busy admiring the alien appearance to feel any fear. To the Dominion, this was alarming. The alien commander demanded their submission according to standard Dominion procedure. Evan blinked. He turned to his crew. Lori shrugged. Nathan raised an eyebrow. No one felt threatened. No one reacted with fear. They simply could not understand why a stranger would demand their surrender when they had done nothing to provoke it. Evan replied with simple honesty. "We don't surrender. We're just exploring. We don't want conflict." To the Dominion, the worst answer was an honest one. The commander sent his message to his superiors. He wrote that the humans were not afraid, not respectful, and not easily influenced. He added that their biology made them physically intimidating even without trying. Their posture alone seemed confident. Their eyes were forward-facing, giving them a predator's stare. Their voices carried strength even when speaking softly. Dominion leadership decided not to attack immediately. They needed to understand humans first. The galaxy had lived in quiet obedience for too long, and a new species with no fear could create a dangerous example. Back aboard the Horizon, the humans continued their journey, still unaware of the galaxy's politics. Megan Lewis was eager to record new discoveries. She collected samples from passing dust clouds and analyzed them. Kyle Turner performed small external repairs, enjoying the feel of drifting in empty space. Daniel Hart cleaned tools in the engineering bay while humming off-key. Nathan Price continued to monitor communications, expecting nothing more than wandering signals. Evan Brooks finally sat down to record a log entry, saying, "We made contact with a new species today. They were very formal. I hope we didn't offend them. Maybe they have a strict culture." Loose Cartness. They have a strict culture. He paused the recording and sighed softly. He hoped for peaceful relations. He knew the universe was big enough for many kinds of life, each with its own way of speaking. He wanted humans to make a good first impression. Far away, Dominion strategists studied human transmissions. Their casual tone, their humor, and their relaxed way of speaking confused many. They whispered in cold rooms, wondering how such a species could evolve on a violent world yet speak with such warmth. They feared that humanity's mix of strength and kindness could inspire hope in other species. Hope was dangerous in a quiet galaxy ruled by fear. The Dominion decided to send a diplomat to meet the humans on a neutral station. They wanted to control the situation quickly. They wanted to show the humans the power of the Dominion before other species noticed them. They hoped to teach the humans fear before their bravery could spread. While these plans formed, the Horizon continued on its peaceful path. The humans were excited to see new star systems. They were unaware that many species watched them with growing curiosity. Their laughter echoed through their ship, a sound that traveled far in the digital waves of the galaxy. Lori Adams often stood by the window, staring at distant planets. She felt a warmth in her chest every time she saw something new. She wanted to believe the galaxy was full of friends waiting to be discovered. Nathan laughed every time she said that. He liked her optimism. Kyle Turner joked that the universe would be disappointed if humanity arrived without snacks. Megan Lewis laughed at that. Even Daniel, who rarely laughed loudly, smiled at the joke. They were not warriors. They were explorers. They did not come to frighten anyone. They came with open hands, not weapons. But the galaxy had never seen Deathworlders who walked without fear. And fear was something the Dominion relied on to rule. When the Horizon entered the space near the neutral station, they saw other ships for the first time. Different shapes, colors, and designs filled the view. Evan smiled proudly. Humanity had taken a long time to reach this moment. He did not know that many species on the station whispered upon seeing the humans. They felt something they could not explain. It was not threat, but instinctive awe. Something deep in their biology recognized the humans as different, strong, steady, unshaken. The crew prepared to dock, unaware that the Dominion diplomat was already waiting for them. They did not know they were about to take the first step into a galaxy, trembling in silence. A galaxy that had no idea what Deathworlders were capable of when they finally arrived. The neutral station floated silently in space, a cluster of domes and spires connected by tubes that glimmered under distant starlight. Ships from many species docked and undocked in calm rotations. Life here followed quiet rules. Everyone expected order. Everyone expected peace. But the arrival of the human ship Horizon changed everything. Inside the station, Dominion officers were already waiting. Their skin shimmered silver under the lights. Their eyes, sharp and alert, scanned every human movement. The diplomat who would meet the crew stepped forward, tall and rigid. He carried the weight of centuries of authority in his posture. Captain Evan Brooks led his crew down the docking corridor. He moved slowly, taking in the new surroundings. Laurie Adams walked beside him, studying the unfamiliar architecture. Nathan Price and Daniel Hart followed, while Megan Lewis and Kyle Turner checked supplies and equipment. They were calm, polite, and unaware that their presence was already causing a stir. The Dominion diplomat raised his hand, signaling them to stop. His voice was clear and commanding. "You are ordered to present yourselves for formal inspection. You will submit to Dominion law and authority immediately." Evan looked at him and smiled faintly. "We come in peace. We are explorers, not conquerors. We do not wish to submit. We are here to learn and observe." The diplomat's eyes narrowed. He had never heard such words spoken so calmly. Normally, species would quake, beg, or plead. The humans said what they wanted without hesitation. This was unusual, dangerous, Laurie whispered to Evan. "Do they always act so serious?" Evan shrugged. "I think it is their way. Let's stay polite." The diplomat motioned for them to follow. He led them into a large chamber where other observers had gathered. Some were Dominion officials, some were representatives of minor species under Dominion control. Everyone watched silently. No one spoke. No one dared. Evan stepped forward with his crew, keeping their hands visible. "We do not wish to cause trouble. We simply want to meet and understand." One of the minor species representatives, a small green-skinned creature with soft eyes, whispered to another. "Why are they not afraid?" The other shook its head. "I do not know, but I have never seen anyone stand like that before." The Dominion diplomat tried again. "You are to understand your place. The Dominion rules, and all species obey. Resistance is punished." Evan looked at him steadily. "Why rule through fear? Surely there must be better ways to lead." The chamber went quiet. Some observers exchanged nervous glances. The question had never been asked before. No species had ever spoken to the Dominion in such a way. It seemed bold, even foolish. Yet it carried a strange power. The diplomat's jaw tightened. He was trained to respond with authority. "Your words are irrelevant. You will obey, or you will face consequences." Evan nodded slowly. "We understand. But we cannot obey what we believe is wrong. We will not harm anyone, and we will not submit to fear." The minor species in the room whispered again. Some trembled slightly, not because the humans threatened them, but because of an instinctive recognition. Humans were different. Their posture, their eyes, their calm movements all spoke of strength born in hardship. Deathworlders. Creatures that had survived worse than most could imagine. Nathan Price adjusted the communication panel. "They are serious," he said quietly. "Do you think they will attack us here?" Evan shook his head. "I hope not. But we must be ready. Always be ready." The Dominion diplomat stepped closer, raising a device that projected the outline of their fleet in orbit. Ships hung in space, dark and sharp, meant to intimidate. The observers gasped. Even some minor species had never seen such a fleet. Evan studied the projection, then said quietly, "We do not want conflict. We only want to protect the innocent and explore." The diplomat's face changed slightly. He was used to seeing species collapse under fear. But these humans, they did not. Lori leaned over to Megan Lewis. "Do you feel it?" "I feel like everyone is holding their breath." Megan nodded. They are used to fear, and they don't know how to handle courage." The diplomat left the chamber abruptly. He reported to his superiors that the humans were unusual, unpredictable, and potentially dangerous. They had observed enough to see that this species would not submit easily. Meanwhile, the humans explored the station. They visited the markets, observing goods from hundreds of worlds. Evan smiled at small children of other species who peeked shyly from behind their parents. Lori asked merchants about their wares. Nathan adjusted communications panels, learning new frequencies. Daniel admired the engineering of the station itself. Megan spoke quietly with local biologists about life forms she had never seen. Kyle collected data about the station's structure, quietly comparing it to human designs. Everywhere they went, minor species watched. They whispered. They trembled, not from fear of humans, but from an instinct that told them these visitors were unlike any they had ever seen. Humans were strong, resilient, calm in ways that suggested they could endure hardship and danger that others could not. The humans returned to the chamber in the evening. Evan addressed the observers. "We understand that many of you live under fear. We do not. But we hope to show that courage can exist without violence. You do not have to bow, if you choose not to." The minor species looked at one another. Some held back tears, others stared in amazement. The humans did not demand loyalty. They only asked respect for life and the choice to stand without fear. Rumors began to spread across the station. The humans do not bend. They are not afraid. They are not like anyone else. The Dominion diplomat tried again to assert control. "You will follow our orders, or the consequences will be severe." Evan nodded politely. "We understand the rules of your authority. But we will not obey what is unjust. We will act to protect life where we can." The diplomat's eyes widened slightly. He had not expected honesty. Most species would lie, plead, or pretend. Humans did none of these things. They simply stated their intentions clearly, calmly, without fear. Back on the horizon, the crew communicated with Earth. They shared their experiences, unaware that their words were already being intercepted by Dominion analysts. Nathan Price transmitted updates about the station, the minor species, and the diplomat's fleet movements. Evan made careful notes about the political structure. Megan collected biological samples from minor species for study. Kyle and Daniel inspected ship systems, ensuring they could respond to any threat. The Dominion was disturbed. Every report highlighted human calmness under pressure, their curiosity, and their natural strength. The analysts could not understand how a species evolved on a harsh death world could speak so kindly, smile while observing, and remain so composed in front of power meant to intimidate. The Dominion tried to show humans the consequences of disobedience. Small demonstrations were arranged. Ships maneuvered aggressively near the station. Drones hovered over the horizon, projecting energy fields that should have caused panic. Nothing happened. Evan watched the drones with calm eyes. "They want to scare us," he said. "We do not scare easily," Lori added. "We have lived on worse worlds." "This is nothing compared to that," Nathan chuckled. "I almost feel bad for them. They think they can intimidate us." The minor species observers trembled in the background. Some even stepped closer to the humans, drawn by an instinct that humans could protect them. Others whispered warnings to one another, realizing that perhaps the humans were more than they seemed. The diplomat returned, frustrated. "You underestimate our power." Evan smiled slightly. "We do not underestimate anyone. But we do not fear either. We will act to defend those who cannot defend themselves." The chamber fell silent. No one had said anything like this to the Dominion in centuries. Whispered conversations spread among minor species. They speak truthfully. They are not afraid. Maybe hope can exist again. In private, Nathan Price asked Evan, "Do you think they will attack us?" Evan shook his head. "Not yet. They are testing. But we must be ready. Always ready." That night, the humans returned to the horizon. They prepared reports, adjusted equipment, and rested. But even in sleep, the station remained tense. Word of human calm and courage had spread. Many minor species stayed awake, whispering about them. Even the Dominion officers could not stop thinking about how these visitors refused to tremble. Over the next few days, the humans quietly offered help to minor species on the station. They advised on safety measures, shared ideas for better life support, and taught basic engineering tricks. They did this without demanding anything in return. The minor species began to trust them. Some smiled openly for the first time in years. Some dared to speak without fear. The Dominion observed quietly, growing increasingly uneasy. They had ruled through fear for centuries. Nothing like this had happened before. A species that did not fear them and acted with kindness was dangerous. Not an attack, but an example. Evan stood in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Lori joined him. "Do you think they will attack?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "Not yet, but we have made our presence known. That is enough for now." Lori looked at him. "We are changing things, aren't we?" "Not yet," Evan said. "We are just being ourselves. But sometimes, being ourselves is enough to change the galaxy." Megan Lewis leaned against the railing, quietly studying a minor species child who played nearby. She smiled. "We can help them. Maybe teach them hope again." Kyle Turner added, "Hope is dangerous for some, but it is worth the risk." And so, the humans continued their work on the station. They learned. They helped. They smiled. They laughed. All the while, the Dominion watched, uneasy, unsure how to respond. For the first time in centuries, they realized that a species had entered the galaxy that would not tremble. The first step had been taken. The humans were not afraid. They had shown courage simply by being themselves, and that courage had begun to spread quietly, like a spark in a dark room, reaching the ears and hearts of those who had long forgotten it. The warning signals came first, blinking red across the horizon's control panels. Evan Brooks leaned forward, studying the readings. "They are here," he said calmly. His crew, already alert, moved into position without hesitation. Kyle Turner checked the exterior cameras. "Multiple ships. Too many for a peaceful visit," he said. "They're Chiron warships." Chiron warships. Nathan Price adjusted the communication channels. "They are broadcasting a demand. They want immediate surrender." Evan shook his head. "We won't surrender. Not now. Not ever." Lori Adams placed her hand on his shoulder. "We can do this. We know what we're capable of. They won't break us." Daniel Hart activated the ship's defense systems. Though they were small compared to the Dominion fleet, the systems were designed for agility and endurance, built to survive extreme conditions on their Deathworld home. Megan Lewis monitored external sensors for environmental hazards. "They won't catch us off guard," she said. "Not easily." The Dominion fleet loomed closer. Its massive warships cut through the darkness like knives. They fired warning pulses into space, energy waves that would have destroyed weaker vessels instantly. But the horizon held steady, its small silhouette calm against the giants. Evan took a deep breath. "We are not attacking, but we are protecting those who cannot protect themselves." From a nearby system, a small colony of minor species cried for help. Their defenses were weak, and the Dominion fleet intended to make an example out of them. Evan's crew had anticipated this. They had been studying the systems and had already calculated multiple routes for protection and rescue. "Daniel, power the shields at full capacity. Kyle, prepare the external maneuver drones. Megan, coordinate with the colony's emergency systems," Evan ordered. Each command was given calmly, without fear. The crew responded quickly, their experience and training making them almost a single entity. The Dominion opened fire. Pulses of energy streaked toward the horizon. The shields absorbed most of it, but the vibrations shook the ship. Sparks flew from minor control panels. Nathan quickly rerouted energy, keeping communications open. Evan stood firm, his hands steady on the console. Hold your positions. Focus on the civilians first. We save lives, then we deal with the rest. Kyle Turner maneuvered drones into the debris field around the colony. They carried life pods and evacuation gear. Each drone moved with precision, avoiding blasts and collisions with falling structures. Minor species watched from hiding places, astonished at the humans' calm efficiency. Megan spoke through her translator, addressing the colony. Follow the drone routes. We will get you out safely. Stay calm and move quickly. The Dominion fleet expected panic. They expected chaos. But instead, they saw order. They saw courage. They saw humans operating in ways that no species had ever done before, under direct attack. Evan's mind worked rapidly. He calculated angles, energy flows, and the safest paths for civilians. Every decision he made had a single goal: protect life, minimize damage, survive the impossible. Meanwhile, Daniel Hart repaired minor damage in real time, directing emergency power to weak points in the shield. Sparks and heat swirled around him, but his focus never wavered. He had trained for this. He had survived worse storms on his homeworld. Nothing here frightened him. Lori Adams coordinated with Megan to ensure that the minor species reached safety. She moved calmly through the chaos, guiding panicked families, pointing towards safe paths, and comforting those who cried. Her voice was steady, and her presence gave hope. The Dominion commander realized their mistake. They had expected fear, but the humans did not flinch. Their calm and organized response was almost mocking in its simplicity. He ordered a stronger strike, hoping sheer firepower would force them to submit. Evan observed the incoming energy waves. Prepare to intercept, he said. Deflect. Don't destroy. We protect. We don't provoke. The horizon's shields flared with energy. Pulses hit and rebounded, energy scattering harmlessly. Some minor structural damage occurred, but nothing critical. Kyle guided drones to reinforce the shields externally, acting like mobile barriers in space. The Dominion watched in disbelief. They had never encountered a species that could endure such punishment and remain composed. Panic spread through their ranks. Some began to question whether this species could be defeated by fear alone. Nathan Price transmitted messages back to Earth, updating them on the situation. His fingers flew over controls, reporting troop movements, energy levels, and civilian locations. They don't understand, he said quietly. We're not scared. We're just doing what we always do: survive and protect. Evan nodded. That is enough to change how they see us. Let's keep it that way. The battle continued. Dominion ships fired relentlessly, but the horizon and its small support fleet moved with skill and intelligence. Each strike was anticipated, each maneuver planned. Daniel rerouted energy again, reinforcing shields where attacks were strongest. Kyle coordinated drones to create barriers and transport civilians from damaged areas. Megan and Lori worked together, guiding the rescued to safety, keeping fear out of their eyes. From the colony, minor species began to emerge from hiding. They saw the humans' calmness and precision. They saw hope where they had long felt none. Some whispered, "They are not like us. They are stronger. They are brave." The Dominion fleet commander became desperate. He ordered an all-out attack, hoping sheer numbers would overwhelm the humans. But every assault was met with precise defense. The humans did not retaliate aggressively. They did not seek victory through destruction. They sought to survive and protect. That difference shocked the Dominion. Evan watched as a Dominion warship took damage, but did not destroy anything intentionally. He thought briefly of his homeworld, where storms and predators had taught him calm in chaos. He thought of his crew, who trusted each other completely. "We will endure," he said softly. "We always do." Kyle guided a drone carrying dozens of civilians through a collapsing corridor. Sparks and debris flew around them, but the drone maneuvered perfectly. Minor species whispered in amazement, realizing that humans did not panic, even when surrounded by danger. The Dominion tried a new tactic. They launched boarding pods, small assault ships designed to infiltrate and capture the horizon. But Daniel Hart anticipated this. He manipulated gravitational fields around the docking bays, creating currents that pushed pods off course. One by one, the boarding pods failed. The minor species aboard the colony began to believe in humans. They saw that courage was not just a word. It was action. It was standing firm when others would flee. They followed human guidance, working together to survive. Even the Dominion soldiers began to notice. Some whispered that humans were unnatural. Their calmness was unlike any species they had known. Their strength, endurance, and intelligence were remarkable. For the first time, fear did not rule the encounter. Evan ordered the horizon closer to the colony. "We will hold them off until every last civilian is safe," he said. "Then we return to our ship. No one is left behind." The Dominion commander tried to intimidate them with massive energy beams. The horizon maneuvered with precision, dodging the worst of the strikes. Kyle controlled drones that intercepted smaller beams, reducing the damage to minimum levels. Daniel rerouted power in real time, keeping the ship stable. The minor species whispered among themselves. "They survive everything," one said. "They do not fear death." Another nodded. "They are Deathworlders, born to endure the impossible." Megan Lewis communicated directly with the colony's leaders. "Stay calm," she said. "Follow our instructions. Trust us. We will get you out." The words were simple, but their tone carried authority without threat. As the last civilians reached safety, Evan gave the final order. "Kyle, take the drones back to the horizon. Daniel, start evacuation prep for our crew. Lori, Megan, Nathan, get ready for departure." The Dominion ships had fired everything they could, yet the humans and their civilians survived intact. Some Dominion officers began to panic, unsure if they could succeed against a species that did not fear death or destruction. Evan looked out the observation window at the retreating fleet. "They are learning," he said softly. "They see that fear is not the only path. They see strength in calmness." The minor species watched the humans leave the system. They were quiet at first. Then whispers grew into words of hope. "Perhaps we are not alone anymore," one said. "Perhaps someone will fight for us." The Dominion fleet withdrew, confused and shaken. Their arrogance had been met with resilience, their power had been met with courage, and their fear tactics had failed. They realized they had underestimated Deathworlders. Humans were different. They endured, they protected, and they inspired. Back on the horizon, the crew gathered in the observation deck. Evan smiled faintly. "We did what we came to do. We protected those who could not protect themselves." Lori leaned against the railing. "And we gave hope where there was none." Nathan Price added. "And we survived everything they threw at us. They will remember this." Megan Lewis watched the stars. "They will. And other species will hear about it too." Courage spreads quickly when it is rare. Kyle Turner crossed his arms, smiling. "I never thought staying calm could be so powerful." Daniel Hart chuckled quietly. "It's not just calm. It's experience, teamwork, and knowing what you can survive. That is what makes us dangerous." Evan looked at his crew with pride. "We are humans. Deathworlders. We do not kneel, and we do not flee. That alone changes the galaxy." The minor species in the system began to rebuild. Some were inspired to resist oppression in small ways. Others prepared for the possibility that humans might return to help again. The seed of hope had been planted, and it grew quickly in hearts long unused to courage. In distant Dominion command, Analysts discussed the encounter in hushed voices. The humans had survived against impossible odds. They had not sought victory through violence, only protection, and that made them unpredictable, dangerous. The galaxy had changed in a single day. The Dominion had trembled in silence for centuries. And now, one species had taken a single step forward. One step that could not be ignored. One step that proved that fear was not the only way to rule the stars. Evan Brooks looked out at the stars and smiled faintly. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The galaxy will remember the humans who refused to bow." The horizon moved onward, carrying its crew, its hope, and the knowledge that courage, even in the smallest acts, could change everything.